Blessings and welcome back to the path to freedom, this beautiful path of continuously awakening to who and what we are and continuously allowing for more and more of that who and what to emerge as we continue to grow, unfold, and expand, releasing and letting go of that which no longer serves, releasing and letting go of that which is not in alignment with who we are becoming, so that more joy, more love, more harmony, more abundance, wholeness, all these beautiful qualities may emerge from within us, well up from the depth of our being. My name is Daniel Roquillo, and I'm always very grateful to be sharing this space with you. I'm always very grateful for you choosing to tune into this space, that we get to co-create this space, that we get to make a mighty difference on the planet as we become increasingly beneficial presences on this planet. So a while ago, I shared a beautiful practice, the beautiful practice of self-loving, of having a healing or loving conversation with self. And today I want to share a similar practice that sort of speaks to the spiritual aspect of our lives. Someone once shared with me that life here on this planet, this incarnation, every incarnation, is kind of like a butterfly, or we can say a bird, or something with wings. A butterfly needs both of its wings to be able to fly, right? And soar and flutter and whatever a butterfly does. If the one wing is in imbalance or injured or damaged or anything like that, the butterfly is not going to be able to fly as gracefully, or not going to be able to fly at all. And our journey here on this planet is much like butterflies. We need to have two strong, equally strong wings in order to be able to have to lead a graceful, joy-filled, balanced, powerful life. We need the spiritual aspect, we need the human aspect. So the conversation, the loving conversation with ourselves, that sort of caters to the human aspect, where we get to heal old wounds and traumas by lovingly speaking into them, by lovingly having a conversation to that wounded self, to that hurt self, to that traumatized self. Today, we're building the spiritual muscles, having a similar conversation, only not to ourselves, but to God, or spirit, or divine matrix, or unified field, or love, or harmony, or infinite intelligence, or whatever name our higher power, or whatever name we choose, we resonate with, feel comfortable with. So how it goes is that, and how I use it, and I've leaned into it quite a lot recently, as I've found myself, as I became aware that I've sort of drifted away from my conscious realization of God, from my conscious communion with God, from my conscious being at one with God. I've drifted away from it, and so I needed to find a way to get back, to find my way back to knowing that God and I are one, to knowing that God is the only thing that is happening here and now, and thus, as God is good, all is well, something wonderful is always happening, and everything is working for the highest good. I had drifted away from that. And so, as a beautiful demonstration of the divine grace, and how whatever we need when we need it is always flowing into our experience if we're open and available for it and to it. When I needed it the most, this conversation, I'm not going to say that it was given to me. I was having a conversation, and in that conversation with an individual, an actual individual, and in that conversation, yeah, I just caught that I can have a similar conversation with God. So how this goes and how I do it is that whenever I find myself having a moment in between, and if you've tuned in before, a moment in between is a moment where we're perhaps not consciously engaging in something that requires our full attention. So a moment in between can be driving, it can be out walking, it can be vacuuming or cleaning, it can be standing in the shower or getting in the bathtub or cooking or getting a haircut or sitting in a waiting room. All these moments that we have throughout our days where it doesn't really matter when our minds usually just wander. So instead of letting our minds wander, we can use these moments as moments where we get to practice, as moments where we get to build our spiritual muscles, as moments where we get to build our presence muscles. If you want to know more about the moments in between, I invite you to find the track that is called Using the Moments in Between or something like that. So whenever I find myself in a moment in between, and when I remember, obviously, I lean into having this conversation. It's a casual conversation with God. It's not formal. It's not in reverence, and it's not prayer in the sense that it is structured or that I need to address God in any particular way. But this is just me leaning into having this conversation with God as though God was my best friend, which God is, even though I don't always know it or feel it or remember it. And obviously, we can lean into this from whatever passage we feel comfortable with or whatever opening we feel comfortable with. But I usually lean in by saying, hey, God, it's me. I'm back. I'm leaning in again. And then I just start to have a conversation with God. And it can be anything from me sharing with God. Like the other day, I was feeling kind of stressed. There was something that I thought I needed to do in order to move forward, but I couldn't find the time or the space or the inspiration even to do it. So I moved into this conversation and I basically said, hey God, it's me. So I'm moving through this experience. I'm experiencing stress over this and that, this and this and that. Please help me. Please help me navigate through this. Please help me, give him the strength or give me the clarity or whatever the case may be. So this is, I know that prayer is not a begging or beseeching, but having this conversation, it is perfectly all right for us to ask for help. So that's pretty much what I did the other day. I asked God for clarity. I asked God for strength to navigate through. And then I go on by, just sharing what I'm going through, what I'm moving through. I lean into affirmations, so I can go. So God, I just want myself to know that all is well. I just want myself to know that something wonderful is happening. I just want myself to know that the only thing that is ever happening here is you. So I'm addressing not God as out there. Well, actually, I am addressing God as out there, and I am addressing God as you. So it's not a hierarchical structure. It's not a it or him, but it's you. So we're close. I'm establishing and I'm cultivating an intimate relationship with God. Obviously, God is not ever out there, but God is fully present in every space and place. There's only absolute oneness in God, meaning that there's nothing that is outside of God. God is not ever absent in any space or place, but wherever we turn our attention, wherever we look, whatever we hear, wherever we go, God is. God is. Another word for God can be energy, right? So energy is all that there is. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be created. It just transmutes. taking on different shapes and forms, right? And in having these conversations, I get to release, like I did the other day, I get to release stress. I get to release, if I'm in a fearful experience, I get to release that. If I'm in an experience where I think it's up to me to make anything happen, I get to release that. I get to hand it all over to God. And it doesn't have to be, it can be, it was quite a while now, but I think it was last week or something, I was in my car for about 30 minutes. And most of that time I was having this conversation with God. But then again, I can go to the bathroom, be in there for about 90 seconds. Not that I'm clocking it, but just about, you know what I mean. So, and just lean into that. And oftentimes it's not really conversation. It's just me bringing myself back to knowing that I and God are one, that God is right here. So just by saying, hey, God, it's me, I'm just leaning in. I'm just leaning in to establish my trust, or to expand my surrender. And that's it, you know? So it doesn't have to be a prolonged process, but it can be very short. It can be very laser-like, whatever caters to our needs in this particular moment. But just like I shared with having the loving conversation with the self, this is such a healing space to move into. I absolutely love it, and especially when I'm feeling that sort of that it's up to me. That's my thing. That's my thing. That I take it upon myself that I need to make it happen. So just addressing that, just sharing that, hey God, I'm here again. I'm being caught up by the notion, by the story that it's up to me to make it happen. So I'm just leaning in to trust and to surrender to you, because I know that you are my only source and supply. I know that you are responsible for all manifestation. So just leaning in. And the other day I was actually having this conversation, not about me, not about a condition, but about another individual who I'm sort of having, it is my intention to be loving and kind, but I'm sort of having a challenge with releasing and letting go of stories where they are concerned. Stories as to what should and should not be, what they should be able to do, what they should not do, you know, all these things that run through our minds. And so I could lean into this casual conversation with God, asking God to help me. Help God. I cannot release my stories around this individual. Please help me. Do it through me. I cannot do it. Help me. I cannot do it. Do it through me. And that gave a release. Of course, the stories came back, but I get to lean in again and again and again and again. And this is the work. It's very rare that quantum leaps happen. They do happen, but it's quite rare. Most of the time, this is incremental, step by step by step by step by step, kind of like, not kind of like, but just like getting into physical shape. Going to the gym once or taking that run once is not going to do that much difference, but it's the continuous leaning into going to the gym, or doing yoga or Pilates or whatever the case may be, or Nia. It's the continuous, the regular and the regular repetition that creates the change, the habitual change. So this is the same. All these spiritual practices that we're talking about, they are the same. Constant, regular repetition to create new habits. habits that support us, that carry us, that move us forward. So that's my invitation, to not try it out once. And obviously, as we talked about in that track about having the loving conversation with self, in the beginning, talking out loud or talking to God may feel blasphemous. It may give rise to discomfort, to shame, to embarrassment, even anger. But that's all right. We get to embrace and allow that. We get to do some healing work around that and keep moving till we come to the point where it actually feels good. When we move through the resistance and get to just bathe in having these conversations, as they are so powerful. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you so much. My invitation is to that we use our moments in between to lean into either having a loving conversation with ourselves, if we're becoming aware that we're perhaps hard on ourselves or beating ourselves up, or whatever the case may be, overcritical or critical at all, or to cater to our spiritual aspect, which is when we lean into having these conversations with God, casual conversations with God or the universe or whatever we choose to call it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Until the next time, much love. I bless all of our days, and I bless all of our ways. Namaste.